Now, we have all benefited from cashless payments, the ease, the convenience, and so much more. So, coming right up, we have Nimit Gulati, VP, Real-Time Payments, Cross-Border Services, and Open Banking, Mastercard, to tell us more about new payment flows, a world beyond cards. Nimit, please.
Hi, my name is Nimit Gulati, and I manage real-time payment products for Mastercard in the Asia-Pacific region. Today, I would like to take you on a journey with us, a journey we started a few years ago of transforming Mastercard into a comprehensive payments company, not just a cards company. The payments landscape is getting increasingly fragmented, with cards, checks, bank transfers, wallets, digital currencies, and whatnot. A few years ago, we started building products and services to leapfrog into the world of account-based payments, or real-time payments as we popularly call them. This was our first big, bold step into an exciting world beyond cards. And today we will take you on this journey with us. So how big is this account-based payments opportunity? We estimate this opportunity to be in the vicinity of $200 trillion, cutting across consumer spends, business spends, and government spends. A large part of this spend happens on bank transfers, checks, and other legacy inefficient methods. And that's the reason there is a global shift towards real-time payments. There are a few factors which are driving this shift towards real-time payments, such as demographics, internet penetration, smartphone penetration, just the availability of new technology enabling better and more efficient forms of payments. There are governments who are driving national agendas such as financial inclusion and cashless economies. The new infrastructure is modern. The rich data formats that real-time payments enable facilitate rich exchange of messages between participants, which fosters innovation. There are fintechs, governments, businesses alike collaborating to take advantage of this new rich technology to solve business and consumer pain points. And more recently, there has been a shift towards open banking in several markets, which is another aspect that accelerates the shift to real-time payments. So recognizing this opportunity, a few years ago, we started developing capabilities via acquisitions and new product development. We've acquired capabilities in the area of real-time payments. You see some of the companies here. Vocalink is a leading provider of real-time payment services to many countries across the world. There are over a dozen countries that leverage their payment solutions today. Nets, another service provider in the same category, dominant in Europe. HomeSend and Transfast, these are real-time payment companies in the remittances area, which essentially enable account-based payments in the cross-border domain. Transactis is a large bill payment service provider in the US. And the reason why we focused on bill payments is because it's arguably the largest non-discretionary category of digital payments in the world. Imagine consumers make all their bill payments all the time, COVID or no COVID. And hence, there is an increased level of focus on that category. And with the acquisition of Finicity, we now have capabilities in the open banking space, enabling data sharing between banks and other service providers for the benefit of consumers. So now you can see that we have been a leading player in the card-based payments technology all these years, and we can port all our experience and expertise from that world into this new world of account-based payments, taking advantage of some of our new products and services. So that was the theory part. How does it all come together for a consumer in real life? Imagine all the payments you do on a day-to-day basis. You buy goods and services from the market, you tap your cards or phones at buses and trains wherever they are accepted. You go out for dinner with friends and you want to split your bills. You want to pay your bills in time so that you're not charged with overdues and fines. So you want to be in control of your budgets and finances. The consumers want a choice of payments and simplified payments all in their hands. And with our capabilities, this is the power we bring to the consumers. Let's see how it comes together. Imagine you have a mobile banking app from the bank of your choice. You are able to pay using your cards, bank accounts, and any other form of payment that your bank offers with the same mobile app. Truly interesting, right? You can also send money to your friends, and you can also receive payments from your friends for payments you may have made on their behalf. Bills, a very large part of consumer spends. You want to make sure that you are aware when and how your bills are getting paid. You want to get alerts and reminders so that you don't get charged for overdues. You may want to pay some bills with cards and other bills with your bank accounts. It's also a function of what the biller accepts, and that's a control you can have with yourself. And all of this with the highest levels of security and control that Mastercard has always offered on our card-based products. That is the power of real-time payments and the new technologies that we're talking about. Now let's see how we enable all those consumer experiences. You can be a consumer or a business wanting to make all those types of payments. But behind the scenes, there is a complex network of technologies that make these payments happen. These technologies include our card-based technology, which is commonly known as the four-party model, real-time payments technologies, which is an account-to-account based payments method, new open banking services, and all of these technologies run with the highest levels of security that we've always offered on our payment products. So now you see, having a choice of technologies really helps us offer the best services to our consumers. And when I say best, it essentially means fastest, cheapest, and most secure, transforming Mastercard into a truly multi-rail network. And how do these new technologies benefit the various stakeholders? The consumers benefit from immediacy of payments. I want to make a payment and I want to receive it right now, and it should reflect in my mobile banking app. These technologies can do that. Companies and businesses, they want to get paid in real time for better cash flow management. These technologies offer that benefit. Governments, they want transparency of payments, and they also want to be able to use this infrastructure in times of emergency so that they can ensure timely disbursal of funds to the needy. That's a great financial inclusion benefit. And eventually, economies and societies. Our studies indicate that utilization of these new technologies can benefit economies to the extent of 1% of their GDP. That is significant. And eventually, the society. Now you'll appreciate that these new technologies are the closest digital proxy to cash. And with this advantage, we can wipe out the friction associated with cash and offer compelling benefits to all stakeholders in this ecosystem. Well, that's all for me for now. Now I would like to invite you all for a Q&A session. So hopefully that session gave you an insight into what Mastercard is doing to drive the cashless agenda beyond the world of cards. Now, we've been in the cards business for over 5 decades, so this journey is not new to us. But the part that is new to us is the fact that world is getting increasingly fragmented, and that's just a reality. This fragmentation will not be an easy journey for many companies and industries to grapple with. It has its advantages in the form that it offers choice and flexibility to consumers, businesses in how they pay, how they choose to get paid. Each payment method comes with its own pros and cons. There is no silver bullet, as we know, in this industry. So the choice and flexibility, while it is a great advantage for everyone, it's also a complexity to grapple with. Um, about 5 years ago, we started on this journey where we decided to take steps beyond the world of cards and started building some of the capabilities we showed early on in this presentation. Some of you may know we even dropped the word card or MasterCard from our logo. So now our logo is how it appears, the two interlocking circles, because it stands for payment with trust and confidence, not necessarily with cards only. So where we are at today is that we started taking some big bold strides in the area of payments beyond cards.
The strategy for us is threefold, and depending on the market we operate in, we choose a mix of these capabilities. Um, we already are present in over 200 countries with our cards-based business. In some countries, about a dozen, and that number is increasing gradually. We are also present with our real-time payment capabilities. Some of you may know real-time payments is an account-to-account transfer technology and operates on a slightly different technology stack, slightly different principles, slightly different participants, and often quite heavily regulated as well. So we do offer those capabilities in about a dozen countries, and that number is increasing. In those countries, we then have the power to unleash the combined effect of what we can do with our cards-based technology and real-time technology, hopefully wiping out the evils of cash even faster. In several other markets, so what you also would understand is that building real-time payment infrastructures is not something that happens on an everyday basis. These opportunities come once in decade, once in 2 decades, depending on which country we are talking about. So if you don't have an opportunity to reinvent the real-time payment infrastructure of a country, what do? In those markets, we have a strategy of building applications. When we say applications, think of them like tools or solutions that you give to consumers and businesses to make these payments in a more friendly, secure, intuitive manner. Think of Singapore and Pay Now. The fast infrastructure or the underlying infrastructure has existed for a while now, but it's only recently with the introduction of what we call Pay Now that consumers can freely transfer money using just each other's mobile numbers. So Pay Now is an example of an application that we are capable of offering in markets where there exists a real-time payments infrastructure. Whether we do it or not, it's immaterial. So these applications are like high-speed cars that run on a 6-lane highway, because the highway by itself is of no use. If you want people to move from point A to point B in a fast and secure manner, you need good quality cars that can run on those high-speed highways. And hence these applications are like those high-speed cars, which are effective and also secure. The example I gave you was in the consumer payments area. There are many such examples in the business payments area as well. A large part of payments today is in the business to business payments area, right? While consumers spend, and we call that personal consumption expenditure, a large part of payments is also in the business payments area. You may have seen that on a slide on the presentation earlier. These business payments follow a slightly different paradigm, because the buyers and suppliers may not know each other at all. The buyers and suppliers may be in very different parts of the world. The buyers and suppliers it may not be a one-time purchase. They may have a relationship which allows them to buy goods repeatedly and pay for goods and services in a repetitive sort of a manner. There may be returns or partial returns. The payment terms may be very flexible. So unlike a consumer payment, which often is a one-time purchase or a recurring purchase, which is of simplified nature, business payments tend to get very, very complex. And hence it is important for the payments to be deeply linked with the business workflows for allowing ease of reconciliation and reporting. That is an essential element of our business payment applications as well, right? So I said earlier, you build infrastructure where it is possible. If the infrastructure already exists, you introduce consumer applications. Either way, the end result of this process is that consumers and businesses in those countries have many capabilities or many tools to be able to make money transfer effectively and securely. Now, why is it a logical extension for Mastercard? Like I said, fragmentation is inevitable. What we have done on payments with cards, that is enabling money to move between consumers and merchants with highest levels of trust and security, it's the same logic that applies whether it's account-based payments or card-based payments or any other form of payments tomorrow. Digital wallets, national digital currencies, etc. Those fundamental tenets of being able to pay someone with complete confidence and security do not go away. With our experience and expertise in offering payments in a secure, interoperable, and globally scalable manner, we are able to replicate some of the same success that we have on the card side, on the real-time payment side as well. Right? So it's not just the ability to move money from point A to point B, it's also the ability to introduce applications that allow consumers and businesses to adopt the technology very easily. And it is also the element of complete security and trust. That is something, first of all, something should not go wrong. There are enough preventive security technologies that we leverage to make sure that abuse of the system is kept low. And secondly, if something does go wrong, because there is no perfect system in the world, then there is a recourse for consumers and businesses to be able to trace the root cause of the abuse and solve the problem in a way that the consumer or business is not disadvantaged. Right? That is at the heart of our operating model. So we are trying to do that in the real-time payments in the domestic scene. We are also trying to replicate that in the cross-border scene. Now, when we talk about cross-border, the pain points are even more pronounced because, as many of us know, there may be many more hops in the transaction, as we call it. And hence, often there is loss of data or visibility to what happened with the transaction. If the transaction got declined, then what's the reason that it got declined? If the transaction was unintended or if there was a fraudulent transaction, then how should we trace the root cause or where did the fraud happen? Just because there are so many more layers in an international transaction makes it a bit more hard for you to replicate the same end result. But with our new technologies, we are able to ensure rich data exchange between participants from point A to point B, irrespective of how many participants there are in between, and therefore able to offer that transparency and traceability of an international transaction. The other aspect in an international transaction is forex rates, which is less relevant in a domestic transaction, obviously. Now, with our global scale, we are able to also offer transparency and competitive forex rates, and therefore very attractive pricing to the sender and the beneficiary. Right? So that what we're trying to do in the domestic space in payments is what we are trying to replicate in the international space with remittances and also disbursements. Disbursements is a business use case where businesses and marketplaces may want to centrally pay their employees, disburse funds. Think of marketplaces giving cashbacks to their consumers all over the world or returns. Think of companies like Uber and Lyft paying their drivers on demand. All of these use cases are enabled via our cross-border payment services platforms. And finally, the area of open banking. Well, the question that is often asked of us is that a natural direction for Mastercard? I would just say that open banking is a logical extension to our business model, although it's still early days. Open banking holds a lot of promise, but why we think it's a logical extension of our business model is because essentially open banking allows secure data exchange between data requesters and data providers with complete consumer consent and with complete traceability and auditability. Well, that's exactly what we do in payments or have been doing in payments for the longest time. We enable payment data exchange between banks and merchants in real time with traceability and auditability and a framework of rules that everybody should play by because that rules is very important to foster trust and drive adoption of this entire ecosystem. Therefore, what we did in payments is what we are trying to replicate in the world of open banking. Although it's still very early days and open banking is still far from global, there are emerging standards in different parts of the world on how data sharing needs to happen. Somewhere regulation is a bit more involved, and somewhere the regulators are urging the industry participants to create this ecosystem. But look, the end result is all very good because as far as the end result is concerned, almost the entire industry is united on the benefits of open banking, which is to drive more competition, to drive more innovation, to provide more consumer benefits and better services at better prices, and all to be done with the highest levels of security and trust in the ecosystem. So while the end goal is quite benevolent and clear, and which is driving unification of the industry forces. The path to that end goal is something that is still being determined because it is still early days. And that's why we've also made some investments in this area. And we are also bolstering this open banking ecosystem with some capabilities that we've always had, especially when it comes to capabilities like security, encryption, identity, authentication, risk management, and such. So we will continue to make moves in these areas in the coming times as well, and hopefully get an opportunity to work with some of you, if not many of you. Well, I hope I was able to give you a little more flavor into the presentation that we made earlier. And should any of you have any questions or comments, we would be delighted to receive your feedback and suggestions. With that, thank you very much and have a very good day.